All right. Hi, everybody. Hi. Oh, goody. I have on gallery view so I can see all your beautiful faces. How fantastic. Okay, can you hear me? Just wave if you can hear me. Yeah. Oh, yes, this is fantastic. Oh, wonderful. Well, okay. It's been a month since we've been able to get together like this. And it's been a busy month. Wow, it's been wild. So I have all kinds of interesting things to share with you. I'm really excited to see you and to be able to talk about some of the things that have been happening, and also some of the insights and ideas that have sort of percolated to the surface. So first of all, I do want to thank Vesta, who put together that little slideshow of our retreat that we just finished last week. It was really amazing to actually work with the masks and to combine both the masks and people who did not feel quite ready to move in the mandala with the mask, or who, for whatever reason, sometimes some of them were relatively new at working in the mandala. And it really worked. We gave them an option. They could just wear a sari, or they could wear the costume for the mask. And they all opted to wear the wigs and the crowns. And so it was pretty amazing. And we had an audience. That was another big shock, because being in Paraíso na Terra, we're way out in the country there. And so we don't usually expect so many people to show up for the offering. But as it turned out, the day was Sagadawa, was the beginning of Sagadawa, which is the full moon of Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and death. So it's a very, very precious and powerful day for Buddhists, and for the Theosophists, which I don't know if you know, but Paraíso na Terra is part of the Theosophical outreach. And so for them, there's a very beautiful mythos that occurs during this particular full moon, when in a remote valley in the Himalayas, Shakyamuni Buddha appears, and surrounded by many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And the Theosophists have said that those who are in meditation at that time have a good opportunity to experience the blessing of Shakyamuni Buddha. So there was this gang of young folks who had come to go up to the temple and experience that. So that was very, very precious, very wonderful. Midi and I also had the precious opportunity to go up to the far east, northeast of Brazil, to Natal. And of course, it's a beautiful place we were staying, right at the beach. So we had the opportunity to see the ocean, to splash around in the pools. But even more precious, we weren't there very long, but we had two really powerful events. One, there were over 50 people, many of them college age, who attended an introductory talk at the university. And the other was a weekend retreat where we had around 35, mostly women, who were really engaged. Now, the person who organized this, Anatanya, is a very respected person in the medical community there. And she has gotten the government to sanction various non-traditional modalities of healing, one of which is sacred dance, and specifically the dance of Tara. So the Brazilian government acknowledges the effectiveness of this kind of practice. So that was very interesting, being with her group. We didn't have the opportunity to meet with her research group, but wow, it was really quite an amazing experience. And then to top everything off, the day we got out of retreat, which was last Saturday, on Sunday, the young Kalu Rinpoche was giving Tara empowerment. So half of our group went to receive this empowerment from this lovely young man, and he really is quite lovely. The last time I saw him, we was 7 years old, and he sat on my lap and looked through the children's coloring book. So, you know, now he's 28, I think. You know, he's really quite a big guy and very beautiful and very intent on what he has to do. But fortunately, he was willing to meet with me privately on Monday. So Mita came along, and we had a talk. I showed him what we were doing. He has also just made a set of masks. He wants to show the 12 deeds of the Buddha. And so he was kind of excited. I had a little zip drive that I stuck in my computer so I could show him some videos and some photographs and some music. And so it was really very interesting to be with him. Every time I seem to be with them, it is. You know, I had quite a connection with his previous incarnation. And it's very different, you know, the old guy and the new guy in the modern world and la-di-da. Anyway, those are all sort of exciting things that have been going on as I also tried to see how I could prepare for this wonderful meeting with you guys. Because this is really amazing that I get to actually look at you once a month. That is really so amazing. I love it. I just love it. Yeah. Okay. Well, oh, and people are popping on left and right here. That's really nice to see. All right. Well, I wrote down some notes because that's always helpful to me. But there's some very specific things that I have just been running around in my head and prompting me to talk about Dharma, talk about this. So I'm going to look at my notes just to make sure that I've got exactly what it was that I wanted to say. Okay, so when the main obstacle we face when we try to examine the mind is this sense that we can't change a concept about ourselves. So that's the first thing that we really need to look at very carefully, because according to everybody that's anybody, we have the facility to change. We have the facility to view the mind. Actually, everything, all of the notes that I was taking, it all comes down to the same thing, which is everything changes when we pay attention to what we are thinking. Not by being controlled by what we're thinking, but by simply being able to observe it as a consciousness observing itself. That in itself disarms the pattern, or it actually, the thing itself, the observation itself doesn't disarm it, but it stops the action, it stops activity on it to give us a chance to choose how we're going to react to what we are experiencing. So as we become more familiar with this, and it was very interesting to hear Kalu Rinpoche use the same words that I use, which is strategy. We need to develop strategies so that we can look at the mind, we can look at the mind's contents, and we can have a strategy for redirecting the mind if it's not going in a positive direction, if it's not going in a wholesome direction, because it's even a little tricky to use the words negative and positive, because things are relative. So because of this relativity, when we have these absolutes like positive and negative, again, the mind sort of fixates itself. And by doing that, we lose flexibility. So we have to examine all of this when we are developing strategy, how to work with the mind so that we can remain in the most open and flexible and radiant possibility. We can do this. We can do this. And this is, of course, what's being said. But in this particular book that I was referring to, this is a Mingyur Rinpoche book. It's called Turning Confusion into Clarity. Doesn't that sound fabulous? The Guide to foundational practices, because these teachings are all based, there is a foundation of what, I mean, I call it concept. We may be talking about trying to get rid of concept, but in fact, it's sort of like the needle that gets the splinter out of the finger, you know. You need concept to get free from concept. So the concepts that are discussed in the foundation of these practices are really essential that we examine them in such a way that we experience them. And it can't be, you're of course, when I say something, that's a kind of experience. You can look at it and go, yeah, that sounds right. But it has to be an in the bones experience, something that you personally have felt and know to be true. Once you have that, then the foundation of the understanding of the nature of mind becomes clear, becomes very easy, in fact. It totally opens itself like this beautiful flower. But like a flower, first we need to get the roots, then we need to get the stem, we need to get the nutrition, we need to get the leaves and the flower, and it doesn't blossom right away either. So this wisdom that we are seeking to experience, we really need to examine the fundamentals and do this consistently. This is a practice, and it doesn't require sitting down, although it might be helpful to just sit down sometime and read through this. This is what these prayers are supposed to do for us, is they're supposed to allow us to concentrate the mind, to focus just on what it is that we are saying and thinking and feeling, so that when we do that, the mind itself opens in very specific ways. This is ginger tea that Ms. Meady made for me. So, all right, so how do we do this? What are the examinations? What are the things that we need to examine every single day? And these are called preliminary practices, but actually, as Mingyur Rinpoche in this book points out, that the greatest lamas that he knows, and certainly the ones that I have met, they do these practices for their entire life. They chant these practices, whether they do it as a formal meditation or just as part of their daily contemplation as they walk around. They remind themselves, first of all, this opportunity is exceptional. Now, one of the things that often happens, I guess I should take one step back. The source of our confusion is the experience that we are separate from the whole. And the more we contemplate this situation, the more that we move in the direction of separation, the more neurotic we become. In other words, we become very confused, because this is a confused state of mind. You will find that if you cultivate unity, the consciousness of unity, the more you cultivate this, the clearer things become. It becomes very, very clear. So clear that there aren't any thoughts about anything. There is only knowing. And that is a state of mind. And it's very available to all of us. This knowing from moment to moment what it is that we have to do, where we are supposed to be, who we are supposed to be with, and what we're supposed to do when we're there. Very, very clear. The more we celebrate and truly understand and truly experience. Now, this is not an intellectual thing. This is, again, an experience. So we want to look around us all the time and think, am I a part of this? Are my atoms interchanging with the atoms around me? Am I one with the earth that I stand on and the air that I breathe and the people that are in my, what, is this true? Is this real? If you examine it carefully and find it to be true, you will also find that you diminish the other two activities that encourage our neuroses. When we get confused about this idea, am I or am I not, what we do then is we become nervous, we become frightened, because we are one and the many is out there. The world looks a whole lot bigger than us. Therefore, we try to make ourselves as big as possible. So this is the idea of accumulating a persona. We build up this identity. When we've built up this identity, then we get nervous about anything that threatens this identity. And so we engage in activities that are either aggressive or defensive. And these keep us from experiencing the whole. And so we are spinning, and we see each other spinning in this confusion. So in order to pull back from this, in order to really provide the mind with a restful enough experience so that it can look at itself without freaking out, in order to do that, we need to examine our life and examine it according to these very specific invitations. So the first invitation, now for those of you who have engaged in practice before, you'll recognize these. These are the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. But before you yawn and go, oh ho hum, and I know what this is all about in yo ho ho, stop for a second and just go along with me. Because really what I have discovered for myself is that the more I bring this understanding and talk about it to myself, make it my personal prayer, then the calmer I become, the clearer I become. So these specific aspects of this dance that we're talking about, this samsaric dance of confusion, aggression, and attachment, it calms down when we understand very specific things and view our life from the platform, first of all, of gratitude, of recognizing that the conditions that we have right now are exceptional. They really are. Now we can think about this just in relation to the life that we've lived so far, because we can see how much free time, how much influence did I have from really profound teachers, how much all of the different attributes, mental acuity, how much training, how much insight have I developed over all of these years. We're in an exceptional situation here. And therefore, we must cultivate an appreciation for the fact that we're in this exceptional situation. Now, according to our scientists, because as you know, that's something that intrigues me, is that these guys are trying all these things out scientifically to prove whether they're valid or not. They have discovered that one of the most powerful parts, one of those powerful conditions of our psyche and our mental health, which also affects our physical health, is to be able to experience a sense of gratitude. Now, one of the things that I have discovered, because a number of students have friends or family that have problems with depression. And so, and they're always asking me, what do I do about this? What can I do about this? So one of the first things that I encourage them to do is to write down a gratitude list. You know, what are the things that they're grateful for? Small, because it's a condition of mind that's essential for us to be able to look at the mind. It's a way of calming the mind, of really seeing what is it that we're grateful for. Yeah, sure, there's probably all kinds of things that we're not grateful for, but that's beside the point. One of the trainings of Tibetan Buddhism is to train us how to be grateful for every moment. how to be grateful for every single thing that occurs to us, no matter how insane it is, no matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter how much pain is inherent in the experience. Nonetheless, if we have trained the mind appropriately, we will see every moment as an event to be grateful for. This provides tremendous clarity of mind. So that is the first thing that we need to examine, and continue to examine it, because it's going to, each one of these pieces unfolds its glory for us. It opens up. It's not like, okay, the bud is pretty when it starts to open, but we don't even know how incredibly beautiful it is when that flower fully opens. So the same thing with the wisdom of mind. We see, we have a little bit of insight, and it's so amazing. It's so precious. It's so fantastic. So persist, because it really gets more and more incredible as we persist in this journey. The second piece of this, of these, Nundro is what it's called, Nundro, the preliminaries, preliminary to awakening, actually. The second aspect is the recognition of impermanence and death. If we don't recognize that this fabulous situation that we're talking about, that we're so grateful for, is not going to last forever, that in fact there will be a transition, and with the transition there are opportunities, and there are also, you know, well, we went as far as we could with this particular training. According to teachers who have undergone this practice and these reflections over the course of lifetimes, they all report that this opportunity, this human opportunity, is exceptional because it gives us enough challenge to help the mind, to help the consciousness to expand into its capacity. So without this challenge of being human and having this strange sort of unfolding, as we see every day, of wonder and magic and insanity and unfortunate and pain, well, all arising at the same time, what do we do with it? If we really learn how to work with it in a dynamic way, then it feeds us, it allows us to engage at a higher level of consciousness and a more capable level. Because as the Tibetans continually remind us, the goal, the reason that we are so devoted or determined to manifest awakened mind is because we truly care. We care about the people around us. We care about our own life. We care about what's going on, and we want to do the best we can do. We've already seen the value of helping others. We've seen the value of living an open-hearted, loving life. No, we can't argue with that. We know that this is true. And therefore, we rededicate ourselves. We rededicate ourselves to achieving this. Now, we've got a limited time. Many of us of my generation are going, wow, okay, well, we're already over the hill and heading down the other side here. So death certainly is a theme in our, or should be. We should recognize that. Let's not take this opportunity for granted. Let's recognize that death is coming. But the other piece of this that's absolutely essential that we all really examine and understand is that everything is impermanent. Everything. There is nothing that exists in this realm of gravity and density, or in the realm of light, sound, and vibration, that is not impermanent, that is not going to change. This is not something to freak out about. This is something to actually just take to heart. So that when something comes into our life, if a situation arises and it's beautiful and it's wonderful, yes, that's wonderful, that too will change. If there's something terrible that's happening, something insane that seems to be happening, yes, that too will change. There's not a single thing in this universe that is not going to change. And we have to know that. We have to know that in our bones, because again and again, we get to situations and we refuse to accept that as true. The mind decides that it doesn't want it to be that way, especially with our close relationships, especially when they're going well. We can't imagine that it's going to change. How could it change? I'm in love, they're in love, everybody's happy, we have enough of everything, and can't even imagine that something else might happen at some point. Whereas if you're prepared for change, then you simply adapt to the moment as it arises. If you're prepared for change, and if you're prepared to use whatever arises as a mode of engaging wisdom and compassion, then you are definitely going to open that flower of wisdom within you more. So again, this is something we need to constantly examine. In one of my marriages, I think marriage number 3, I had gotten to the point where whenever my husband would go out the door, I would say to myself, this may be the last time that I see you. Well, when it actually happened, I was prepared, because I had already recognized, okay, everything is going so well, we're in love, it's all wonderful, happy, happy. Therefore, be aware that who knows when or where the change is going to happen. Just be prepared for it. So it wasn't a big shock. It wasn't something that brought me, that drove me into any form of neurotic behavior, because I was prepared with the understanding that everything changes everything. It doesn't matter how close, how intimate, how wonderful, how important. We must be prepared for that. So then, number 3, the third piece of this that we need to really reflect on is that whatever we do, whatever we think, whatever we say, all of our activity, all of our speaking, everything affects everything. That if we want to know what our future is going to be like, examine what your behavior is like now. If you want to know why you're in the position that you're in now, think about your past, because that's what led us to this moment. And it isn't just about us, me, my karma, it's about what we have all collectively created, and what are we collectively creating. Now this brings me to a rather important part of this particular sharing, because it really became more and more obvious to me the power of us getting together as in a group, when we dance together, and just even in this situation right here, that we can be together. And I want to congratulate Josh for pointing out to me that at the end of my talk, you can all talk to each other. And we did this last time. We did this. We left the channels open for you to all speak with each other. And everybody turned on their mics. So I just left, because it's pretty intense, this constant talking for an hour and a half. I need a break, right? But I loved hearing everybody laughing and sharing. And so one of the, somebody sent me a list of things that the 13 grandmothers were telling us was really important. And of course, consideration for the environment was very high on the list. But what topped the list was getting together in groups of like-minded people and sharing our heart with each other. That was the most important thing to bring about the healing of the nations. So here we are engaged in that way. And yeah, that's part of our karmic activity. Because, you know, I ask myself, okay, what is the value of here I have this hour and a half to share with you guys. What do I have of value? What can inspire you? What can you take home with you? What can you reflect on? And you know, one of the real treasures, and this particular retreat that we just finished, because it was small, we had 33 women, which was lovely, it was fantastic, but it was half of what we're used to. And so we had more time to let everybody talk, to hear what everybody was feeling when they danced in the mandala. Of course, there was a lot of, awesome, wonderful, incredible, fabulous, inspired stuff, but there were also some very poignant challenges that people dealt with, and that they would never have communicated if we didn't give them the opportunity to talk, to go around and ask everybody in the circle to have something to say, to see. It didn't matter what they had to say. That was very precious. That was very powerful. So that's the third consideration, is to recognize it does matter. What we think, what we do, what we say, it matters. And it matters if what we do collectively, not only what we do individually, but what we do collectively. How do we come together in a wholesome way? And then finally, the fourth thought is, usually it's a little difficult for teachers to really explain this one, because it ends up, people think, oh, well, that's a very pessimistic attitude about life. This is the understanding that if we don't turn into the heart of unity, if we don't deny the activity, if we don't recognize the danger of the activities of attachment and aversion, that we are going deeper and deeper into what's called samsara, that this is what samsara is. Samsara is the basic confusion about separateness and the aggression and attachment that this engenders. And it causes us to see places and people and friends and things as solid material, so that when it comes into our scope and we find an appreciation, in other words, it makes us feel good about ourselves and our world, then we become attached and we project into the future about what we want it to look like. If we don't examine this activity, we are going to again and again set ourselves up for misery. So that is what the fourth thought is about. Turning away. When we, in our beautiful Tara practice, when we invoke the goddess before us, and we determine that we are prepared to enter the profound path of awakening, the next thing we have to do is to turn away from confusion, aggression, and attachment. But it's not only a turning away from that, it's a turning into, if you remember, we are turning into the heart of love. We're turning into the heart of wisdom. We're turning into the willingness to engage fully in life as a radiant, compassionate, light being, seeking the skill to be able to interact with others in a joyful, loving, compassionate, empowering fashion. So those are the basics of the four thoughts. And I hope that you have found a little bit of inspiration for that. And so I wanted to give you another experience from another sort of set of teachings that I've been examining, which is also coming from Mingyur Rinpoche and also Ken MacLeod. And this is about the mind and the meditation. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to lead you in a meditation, and then we'll have a little conversation about it, if that's okay. Yeah, not too bad, 40 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, once I get going, you just push that Dharma button, I tell you. And the four thoughts is one of my favorites. So please sit with your back straight and your eyes closed. And let's get in touch with our breath. Just really focus on breathing in and out. And let's place the mind on the nostrils so we can notice the breath coming and going from our nostrils. And with every inhale, we imagine radiant light entering our bodies. And with every exhale, we feel ourselves letting go of any physical tension that we have. So inhaling radiant light and exhaling and letting go of all physical tension. So concentrate on this for a few breaths. Now on the next set of inhale, again radiant light, and on exhale, letting go of emotional tension. Now on the next set of breaths, letting go of mental tension. Now as you continue to breathe gently, feel your mind to be a vast, radiant sea of light, endless. It's endless. You can't find the end. So just relax in this radiant sea of light as it's breathing in and out. Feel yourself as if you're rising and falling in this warm sea of light, which is rising and falling with your breath. On every exhale, let go deeper. Now, on your closed eyelids, looking straight ahead, galaxies of stars appear. Beautiful stars appear behind your closed eyes. And they start moving towards you. In the center, a beautiful green light. And as it moves closer to you, you realize it's Tara. Beautiful green Tara. And surrounded by all of your sources of refuge. And everybody in the sky is very happy. They're very happy to see you, which makes you very happy. And so there's this wonderful sort of celebration of light and love. As you look upon Tara, all of these radiant stars melt and merge with her, and she becomes even more brilliant. And she's laughing and she's looking at you and encouraging you and loving you, and you feel yourself relax even deeper as you breathe out, just letting go of anything that holds you back, letting go of all your preoccupations. Whatever it is, you simply let go and allow the radiance from her body to start pouring into you. From her heart, this radiant light is pouring into you. And as you look at her, you also examine all the sacred aspects of her body. You see the 5 gems in her crown that represent wisdom. You see that she's covered with gems and jewels. She's willing to engage in life fully. She's covered with silks. She's willing to attract others to her in order to bless them. Her beautiful eyes look so deeply into you, you know she sees everything about you. And you are happy about that. You want her to see everything about you. You want to reveal every single thing that's going on within you, asking for her to help you to be the best that you can be, because you're determined to manifest the fullness of your human potential. And she recognizes this. She knows that you're going to make it, and she's willing to give you all the help she can. Her long hair represents her freedom. Top knot on her head, unsurpassed, enlightened mind. Her right hand gestures, I give all that is needed, for I am the mother. And her left hand gestures, fear not, I'm a true source of refuge. She's seated on a lotus, which is wisdom, and a moon seed, which is compassion. Her right leg extended outwards. She's ready to come to you if you need her. Her left leg pulled in. She's mastered the power of desire. This beautiful, radiant goddess sitting right before you, pouring her light and love into you. And as she does this, you feel yourself letting go of your burden, whatever it may be. It washes through you, and you continue to let go until you realize you too are made of light. You too are made of light. Every radiant part of yourself, you feel yourself vibrating back to her, the same power, the same glory, the same accomplishments, the same quality. So much joy. In the center of your heart, a green dot appears. And surrounding this, the golden syllables of the mantra. And underneath this, a lotus blooms. And suddenly this transforms into another Tara, seated right at your heart. And in the center of her heart, a green gem of light, surrounding by the golden syllables of the mantra. And underneath that, a lotus and a moon seed. And this golden mantra spinning around, pouring, filling your body with light. Now the light is radiating out of every pore of your body. So you are like a radiant sun. And your light is filling the room that you're in. If there are any other people in the room, that light embraces them. And the light pours through your house. If there are any other people in your house, that light blesses them. And the light continues to move out from your radiant body. And it's pouring into the area where you live, filling all of the buildings, all of the people, all of the animals, all of the creatures. Everyone is being blessed. And the light continues out until it completely fills the area, the state where you live, the country where you live. You feel you're such a powerful, radiant light sun. Light from the Tara in front of you, pouring into you, encouraging you. Light from your own heart, pouring through you and out of you into the world, into the oceans of the world, into the continents of the world, blessing all the beings of our planet. And then the light returns. The light returns. We pull it back. It comes back as wonderful blessings. And we see that all the different people that the light has touched, it's revealed their own essence as radiant light beings. And they start coming towards you, and they melt, and they merge with you. And you are even more resplendent. The Tara in front of you merges with you, and you're even more resplendent. Your beautiful Tara body radiating in all directions. It melts into the Tara at your heart. And the Tara at your heart melts into the little green gem of light at the center of her heart. The mantra melts into that green gem of light. And that green gem of light completely disappears. Instantly you arise as a radiant light being and look around where you are and see how precious this wonderful space that you inhabit, this incredible connection. Open your eyes. And now, any questions? When I asked you that, the reason I ask is because this kind of experience causes the mind to stop. And when I ask you any questions, you are forced to look at your mind. Not in an uncomfortable way, just to look. Did you see anything? Did anything move you? Well, something is moving me. I just got a little note that said, my internet connection unstable. So let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, look at the mind. Okay, so now, but that went away. Okay, there's a point that I want to make here. And I want to read a little bit of this because this comes from two of the descriptions of ultimate mind, which is Mahamudra and Dzogchen, for those of you who have engaged at all in Tibetan practice. If you haven't, don't worry about it, because these experiences go way beyond any label that we can put on them. But there are what the Tibetans call pointing out instructions. And so in this particular write-up, as I read it, I realized we're doing this all the time. We come to a place in our practice where the mind stops. And that is the point at which ultimate mind and consciousness is showing itself. Now, we don't know the depths of it until we're able to sustain the experience, because what occurs is right away, we start to conceptualize what we're experiencing. Now, that's a habit of mind. And as we become more and more aware of this, now, all I did was ask you to look at your mind. I didn't really do anything other than that. It's your own experience. It's your own experience. So let me read a couple of these things, because I thought, oh, this is really, I have watched this happen again and again in giving teaching. Follow me and follow, and then if I stop, their mind stops. Okay, so there are hundreds of ways to interrupt the action of the mind. Anything that brings you up short and stops the thinking. So he pointed out, music can do this. Experiences in nature can do this. Different kinds of physical activities like dance can do this. He also pointed out that Alice in Wonderland can do this. So the other little piece that I thought was kind of attractive was, yes, Alice in Wonderland. What was the other one that I thought was really, oh yes. And then there's the standard, one hand clapping. So again, pointing to what causes the mind to stop and look at itself. Okay, so according to these teachings, do it over and over again. Set yourself up. This is the value of doing some of these practices. When we get together in our retreats, we have a number of times during the day where we bring ourselves through the practice to this state of mind. For instance, when we are engaged in the praises, when we're dancing the praises, and we finish dancing the praises, at that point, the guide should be saying, to help the students, or you should be saying it to yourself, mind infinite, giving yourself a chance to simply look at the mind, because you've been so active, there's so much activity. So when there's activity and then stop, we find that the mind expands and has the chance to look at itself. Let's see what else I've got over here. Okay, now what is the next piece of this that is being discussed, and I'd rather just talk directly than read it, is that when we have intense emotions arising, that this is really a very important time for us to look directly at them and be willing to go into the intense emotions without engaging in anything but our own attention. And to be willing to do that again and again, and to develop some kind of strategy to allow us to experience whatever we're feeling without the compulsion to act. Not easy. It's not easy. And so, according to this particular text, it will repeat itself. But the fact, what happens, I thought this was very beautiful. Sometimes we're swept away. Sometimes we're completely consumed. And sometimes we spin out of control completely. But as soon as we recognize what is happening, go into it and try to establish a sense of balance. When we do this, it will eventually become second nature. Everything that gets in the way no longer will. We will touch mind's nature in all we experience, no matter how joyful or pleasant or frightening or painful. We learn to be completely present with the mind. So I thought that was a nice teaching to share. And now we come to my other favorite thing to do, which is to talk about all of the, oh yes, oh wait, one more thing I want us to do together. Okay, I would like you to put your hands on your heart. Yeah, very good. And I would like you to repeat after me. I am worthy. I am loved. I am cared for. I care for others. I choose only good for myself. I choose only good for others. I love myself. I love others. I forgive myself. I forgive others. I open my heart. My heart is open. And now with your hands on your heart, imagine this beautiful, warm, radiant love and light filling your body, loving yourself, and sending this light to your family, to your friends, to your pets, to your community, and to your world. Yeah, so I really, really, really like that one. This was in the magic shop. For those of you who were around for that particular Zoom experience that we did, this was how he healed himself of his self-criticism. What he determined was one of the most challenging parts of sharing love was the fact that he judged himself so harshly, and that we don't even know that we're doing that, which I thought was very interesting. So, okay, all right, now I'm going to talk a little bit about events past and events in future, and hope, I know I can see a lot of you that I'm definitely going to see soon, which I'm so happy and excited. I know Miri and I are getting ready, yeah, 10 days, and we leap off to, where are we going, Miri? Oh yes, to the abode of the message in upstate New York, which I'm very happy to see some of you will be there. Not enough though. This is a very under-attended retreat, and we just discovered that we might have some scholarship money for one more person. So if you know of anybody who would really like to be there, but requires a scholarship, have them contact me and we'll see what we can do, because I have been appealing. We love the abode, so there's no question about canceling, and if we have to pay for people who aren't there, we're going to do it. But we have been trying, and we have been getting all kinds of wonderful scholarship money. So by all means, please go ahead and jump in if you're able to come. I know upstate New York is pretty far away, especially for a bunch of you folks that I see, my Hawaii friends, my Brazilian friends. Yeah, it's not so close. And it just so happens that the dates, it seems like everybody is doing something else on those dates. That makes it a little tricky. Anyway, that's that. And then the next thing that's going to happen is we're popping over to California. And the Anam retreat, just to let you know, the Anam, the 2 days of dancing for Anam, is actually coming along very, very well. His community was a little bit nervous about us advertising that we were dancing for him, making that the important part of what we were doing. Well, it is the important part of what we're doing. So I had to explain that to them, that he in fact invited us. And so we are developing the whole program of White Tara to offer to him. Oh yes, one of the things I wanted to share with you that's rather exciting. We went into the studio, the recording studio, with Ivana. Ivana, for those of you who are at the Munlam, you will remember her as the Argentine woman with the exquisite voice who sang in all the languages, Spanish, Portuguese, and English. And so we have been English. Well, one of the things that we discovered was this video that we made of trauma, of Elizabeth Breck teaching trauma at the retreat. For those of you who were at the retreat in somewhere in Arizona, I forget the name of the place. We were out in the boonies in Arizona, and Elizabeth had created this beautiful dance to trauma. It was a little bit beyond what our normal dancers could do, because of course Elizabeth's a professional dancer and well accomplished. But she sang the song, and as it turned out, I recorded it. And I was able to take the recording into the studio and ask Ivana to sing with her, so it could strengthen her voice in the places where her voice was, sort of a little weak. And so we have this incredible recording of Elizabeth singing her trauma. And then Miri did this beautiful dance. We created some of it together, and she also did some of it, a poem to trauma that Elizabeth had started working on. And I just sort of reshaped. So it's all recorded. And Vesta has been making these DVDs. Oh, by the way, how did you like the opening DVD of the mask dancers? Yeah? Wasn't that amazing? Vesta was up until midnight. Her computer kept crashing. and today she was going to an empowerment with Kalu, so we knew, okay, we got to get it done. But yeah, she's been doing a really great job. It's one wonderful. Vesta, our little chipmunk girl, so cute. So oh, fantastic. Anyway, so we will put that on YouTube, and we'll make it available to our student teachers, this trauma. I don't want to make it available publicly, but for Elizabeth's family and for our family, which is our student teachers, definitely I will make that available. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like Lori has a question. Okay, so I'm going to unmute you, Lori. Or, yeah?
Yes.
Josh, can you unmute Lori?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, what's your question,
Well,
darling?
it goes back to the four thoughts, because I do that part in my daily practice. And there is a line that says the three kinds of suffering. And I can imagine the suffering of losing something you already have or not being able to get something that you want to have. But I can't think of anything for the third kind, and it stops me every time. Would you
Okay,
illuminate?
yes, that's a common question. And I always expect my students are going to ask me. If they don't ask me, I know they're not doing the practice. So, yeah, because the third type of suffering is the underlying sense of discontent that we constantly experience.
Right.
So there's never a point of complete satisfaction. If we get what we want more, or we lose what we've got, so there's always that sense, that underlying sense of dissatisfaction. That's what the third type of suffering is. Yeah, and it's what causes people to say that that Buddhism is a very negative sort of psychological process, because it's always talking about suffering, which is what we're talking about here. Dukkha really is the word, which means dissatisfaction. But it's really, Shakyamuni simply was pointing out that this is the nature of our mind. If we don't really engage with the mind, then we're constantly, we're sitting down, and then our bottom hurts, and then we stand up and our back hurts, and then we walk and we feel good, and then in another. So it's this constant turnover of dissatisfaction. But it can be stopped. It can be stopped. And that's the point that's being made there. Because usually when you get to the end of the four thoughts, there's a little section that says, therefore, if you contemplate in this way, your mind will automatically be turned toward the path of the Dharma. Because you recognize, okay, this is, how do I get out of this? That's okay. I can see the situation. I'm grateful, blah blah, and impermanence and karma and dissatisfaction. Well, and then you really engage. Then you start looking at the mind. You start looking at it and saying, okay, so how can I change this? What do I need to do to change this sense of always being dissatisfied and always finding myself attached onto things that ultimately don't bring satisfaction, moving towards things, because that's what that one discusses. We're always going after something, thinking this is it. Now I'm going to be satisfied. Now I'm really going to be happy, and finding that it's not the cause of our happiness. So that's what that's about. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? I think that was the only one. Is there anything else, Josh? Joshua, are you there? Nothing? Okay, great. Alrighty. So then I'm going to turn your microphone back off again so you have a little more freedom over there, Lori. Okay, to do whatever. And let's see, where were we? Oh yes, I was telling you about Anam and I got distracted about Prema. Yeah, because we'll probably at some point. Oh, also because when we went into the studio, the other thing that we worked on, aside from trauma, was also this beautiful poem of Anam and his voice chanting. He has a really exquisite version of chanting the mantra. And so we were able to put it together in the studio. I have one more session with the recording engineer, and then I'll be able to share some of that with you. Very, very profound practice. Just unbelievable teachings inside this poem that he wrote while he was flying off into the clouds, and he saw Tara hanging out his window, inspiring him. Yeah, he's an interesting fellow. Right, and then I can see Noelle is here, and so she's all ready to make whatever costuming we need, which is really fantastic. And Kim, I think I saw Kim also, well, I see her name, I don't see her face, but it sounds like she's on here. So we are starting to put together the registration for Dhamala. And I want to encourage all of you who want to attend or to be involved, if you want to dance in the masks for Dhamala, to register as soon as possible. Oh, there's Kim. Hi. She just turned her camera on. Yeah. So hopefully we'll be able to get that registration form in shape by the end of within the 10 days before the retreat happens. Would be really great. I would just love that. So we can start really organizing for that. I was so happy to see how competent the women were in dancing in the masks in the mandala. It was really amazing. For those of you who at least had a chance to try the mask while we were in Brasilia for the Manlam, you know, we were being very sensitive about the way and movement and so forth. So Miri has really developed a wonderful method of being able to work that. Fantastic. And the costumes, Noelle, they just are amazing. They're just amazing. Okay, now just don't get distracted, Prema. Let's see what else we have here.
Prema,
yeah.
I'm on the mic. This is Kim.
Okay, great.
Lori just asked what the dates are for October, Friday, let me think, October 11th, 12th, and 13th. Friday the 11th, 12th, and Sunday the 13th. And
right.
on the 3 days.
Now here's a couple of other things if you're planning to come to that part of the world. We are going to go to Oregon. We're going to arrive in Portland. The Vihara there is celebrating its 10th anniversary, and it's a big deal. And so Miri and I, this is probably where we'll introduce the trauma dance. We'll be there on Tuesday the 8th, I believe is when, or Wednesday the 9th, Tuesday or Wednesday. We haven't decided on the exact date yet. And then from there, we're going to drive up to Seattle, hopefully with our dear Noelle. On Thursday, very, very precious for all of us to receive this empowerment from her. And on the mess. So yes, there will be room for projectors. If we have some projectors, we'll definitely be able to include them. But the most important is the training of the dancers in the mess. Yes, that's that. What do we have? Oh yes, yeah. To offer a mandala in Berkeley at the Terra Temple, for those of you who are in the Bay Area or know friends who are in the Bay Area. Okay, so your question, Prema, Donna, everyone, can you register now? You mean for Dhamala, is Donna, I imagine that's what your question is about. Yeah. No, registration will happen in about a week. We need to have a form up because there are a lot of sort of things that you need to answer. So that's that. Now, where was I? I was talking about, yeah, Pia. Okay, so Pia, the 20th and the 21st of September, for any of you who are going to be in the Bay Area, you can join her mandala. She's going to put it together and temple in Berkeley, so that's pretty exciting. And you coming and going here online and see John and Shay. So you girls in Kauai having meetings. And I was thinking that as part of this outreach, this Zoom outreach, that I would be happy to sort of announce the different meetings, because you should know everybody is, it's pretty, how many Tara circles are, and when they said he's going to be where. Be leading dance on Maui when I get home in July. I'm very excited to go home. I understand that Josh and David have been lots and lots of flowers. So I'm very excited to see that, the enormous cypress tree that fell over and knocked out one of our solars. It's going to be fun to be back home on Maui, that's for sure. If you ever feel like coming to Maui, let me know. We meet in May for new and full moon. And so let you know what the date is, because it changes depending on what my other obligations in town are. And let's see, what other things do we need? Yeah, so then after the event with Damala, we're going to go over to the San Juan Islands, Orcas Island, which is so, so beautiful. And then we'll do a weekend there with our beloved Julia. And then I will return to Maui, and Miri will return to Brazil. Oh, whoa. And so that's what's happening. And then, okay, 2020. Now I see that Karen Frisia is right there. She's watching us from Ecuador. Yes, very excited to see you, Frisia. So she is organizing a Tara dance in Ecuador for 2020, April 2020. And we have encountered a fellow who does some very interesting tours over in that part of the world. So we're going to invite Taras to come with us to dance with the Ecuadorians. And Frisia has said that they're thinking that they might want to do 2 mandalas, one in English and one in Spanish. Yeah, which is pretty exciting. So that's next year. And then, of course, there's the invitation to go to Sotomalione's place in Colorado in the end of September. And then, okay, let's see, Kauai girls, how is it looking over there? Do you really think that the road's going to be open for Camp Naue, for Hyena? What do you think? Yeah, I don't know. Yes, they've told us before, but you know, we're booked. It would be nice to be back there again. Okay, so I've pretty much gone over my list of things. Do you have anything that you would like me to talk about, or anything that you would like to share before I say sayonara and see you in a month or whenever we do manage to meet? Anything? Okay. Well, this is really wonderful. So thank you so much for taking the time. Let's see, from Ayana's Rose to everyone. The road should be open by 2020. Yes, we're imagining. They said it would be open in June this year. So let's see if they actually make it in June. But yes, it would be lovely to be back on Kauai. Okay. Am I still planning on coming? Well, let's see. Oops. Okay, so where is Ayana? Ayana, I'm going to unmute you and you can ask a question. Okay, so what was your question, Ayana?
Oh, are you still planning on coming with Miri to Kauai in September?
We are. Do you have a date?
No, I'm just waiting. I was waiting to be able to talk to you. I think I emailed you recently, said looking forward to just speaking with you about it. So, yeah, I just was wondering because that didn't come up in the mention. So I thought, oh, maybe they're not coming. But
well, because I decided for some reason when I printed out these notes, I printed them out very small, and I didn't want to put my glasses on. So who knows what I have. What I have missed. I definitely missed. Also, I was trying to save ink, which was a really stupid thing to do, because not only is it too small, but it's not dark enough. So yeah, but definitely September, Miri and I will do a weekend workshop in Kauai. There it is. Okay. So you just, we need to sort out when and figure it out. I don't know when the full moon is in September. The best way, right now we have very strange communications situation here, which is that Miri's phone died completely. died. So she's trying to use my phone, which is, because I barely use my phone. And I don't know how to use my phone, so I don't know how to tell her. So there's that. We do have a house phone here, but I can call through Skype. Also, Skype and Zoom. Zoom is really good for personal calls, but there's a delay. Whereas if I call you on Skype, it costs me 2 cents a minute, which is nothing. And I can call your telephone, and I get a really clear signal without any delay. So that's the easiest way to have a conversation with me then, is to go online, to send me an email and to set up a time, and then I'll call you from Skype. And it'll be a number that you don't recognize. It's always a different number. I don't understand how they do their trick. That one I haven't figured out.
Too with your Apple computer, Prema. You should be able to FaceTime over the internet with your Apple computer. It's much easier for me.
Yes, I can, but there's a delay. There's a delay. Even in Zoom, there's a little bit of a delay. And so sometimes when you're trying to have a business conversation, the delay becomes pretty aggravating. It's much easier to just have a straightforward conversation with people talking back and forth. So I found it the best quality phone time is if I call your phone through Skype. Okay. I don't know why, but I'm willing to pay 2 cents a minute for the blessing of being able to, hear you without things falling apart and without this big delay or the echo. That's the other one that happens often. So yes, we can talk about it, whenever you want. I have some free time this but I have time next week, this coming week. So just make it, email appointment. Okay. And we'll do it. We'll set the date. And we'll see you girls on Kauai. I can't believe it. I'm going home to the islands. Okay, anything else anybody wants to chat about? Any other questions? Well, then I will let you chat with each other. So I think if I exit the meeting, but I don't end the meeting, then okay. So whatever inspiration, whatever joy that we've generated through this sincere coming together, I pray that we may continue to meet in auspicious circumstances throughout our lives, and that we really engage in this powerful path of wisdom and compassion as much as possible. Swaha, swaha.